Well, welcome everyone. This is a free webinar from Take Charge Today, and we're going to talk about entrepreneurship, something new from the Take Charge Today program. Tonight, you have some of our staff with us. You've heard Robin Palmer talking with you. She and I are education and marketing specialists, and we have our program manager online with us as well. And that is Tiffany Karamijian. Tonight's agenda, we have 1 hour to share with you, and we hope to have a give and take with you a little bit. Why Take Charge today is going to be where we start, and some background about all of us and our program. We're also going to help you know where to find entrepreneurship lessons on our website, highlight some of the 5 lessons we have already for entrepreneurship, and then a quick wrap up. So why Take Charge Today? Well, we have been around since 2007 at the University of Arizona, and it was actually started in the state of Montana originally. And this is a program that is free, turnkey, easy to implement, and most of our lessons are centered upon personal finance education, but we've heard more and more teachers like yourselves that are joining us tonight telling us that you want to have more type of lessons. So we thought, working with our professors at the University in Tucson, they said, why don't you start some lessons about entrepreneurship, because that is an important topic as well for young people in the way our economy is growing and changing. We are putting together these entrepreneurship lessons on the same platform and the same framework that we're doing with our regular lessons from Take Charge Today. That includes the materials, answer keys, worksheets, everything a teacher can access and feel comfortable with at using our curriculum. We also offer, and some of these are our most popular items that we offer for our program, and those are our activity-based materials, our active learning tools. And we'll be talking about how some of these are embedded in our lessons of entrepreneurship. With Take Charge Today, we have themed units, and under each of these units, we have lessons for personal finance, or in this case, tonight, we're talking about entrepreneurship. You can see that we have advanced level lessons, we have introductory level lessons, we have active learning tools, we suggest and have written service learning projects, and we have ties to some popular personal finance simulations that we've written, and we've written in partnership with our industry partners, Intuit Education. With all of our Take Charge Today lessons, we have 5 elements: the hook, how you draw them in, vocabulary, making it intentional for them to be exposed, the students be exposed to so many different new words and definitions, content facilitation, review activities, and also assessment. Plus, from our website and our program, we offer extra things such as external resources in all of our lessons. Social media, we're on platforms of Twitter and Facebook. You can follow us there. We have our worksheets and our activities that need to be completed by students in Google Classroom compatibility. It's easy to use in a Canvas, in Moodle, and other learning management systems. So let's take a look at those 5 entrepreneurship lessons that we want to introduce to all of you today. This is where you would find our Take Charge Today website. And if you were searching for an entrepreneurship lesson, here it is. It has its own tab, and you can see entrepreneurship and the 5 different types or titles that we have thus far. It is our plan to continue to write new lessons and include those in our entrepreneurship category of our lessons. So let's go back to our, excuse me. So our 5 new lessons that are available right now from our website are types of business ownership, business and personal ethics, defining roles of social entrepreneurs and social responsibility, understanding consumers, decisions, and markets, and recognizing leaders and managers. Now, you can tell from some of these titles that not only are they applicable for a business education teacher and teaching of entrepreneurship, but some of these could easily blend into a personal finance class as well. For instance, the principles of business and personal ethics. That is certainly a topic that could be taught in many different types of classrooms. So what we're going to be doing is sharing with you types of business ownership. So with our types of business ownership, you can see what we've put up here is our front page of our lesson plan. Every lesson plan starts with a cover page. And here is the one for our type of business ownership. We start out with, why is this topic important? To help you, the educator, and for your students to understand why this topic is going to be taught to them in the classroom. We have a section called What Teachers Can Do, and these are revealing some of the strategies, not all, but some of the strategies that you, the instructor or facilitator, can use with your students to introduce the topic and get them learning on this subject. We have a section called What Students Can Do, and this is just a part of what the students would be doing in this particular lesson. So for instance, we have a drag and drop pre-made activity in the types of business ownership where students could test their skills and knowledge and see if they can understand the different types of business ownership, sole proprietorship, partnership, corporations, LLCs, and see if they can, after they have been exposed to this information, test their knowledge and comprehension with a fun drag and drop game. We try to incorporate blended learning opportunities in this lesson and many others. We have traditional and applied assessment choices. If you want to use a simple multiple choice type of test or assessment, we provide that for you. But we also have unique choices if you want to assess them in a different way. For instance, having the students create an informational poster. And in this case, we would include a scoring rubric for you to grade their product. So teaching this particular lesson, trying to engage them and bring some fun into this type of lesson, we have a hook and vocabulary for a game called 4 on the Floor, which comes from our active learning tools. And that's a fun way to just have students kind of activate their prior knowledge about a particular game, I'm sorry, a particular topic, like types of businesses. What types of businesses do you recognize in your own local community? And there are explanations of how to play this game in our active learning tools that are called 4 on the Floor. The suggested vocabulary tool for introducing new vocabulary, or going ahead and doing this as a review game, we call bonus basket vocabulary game. And this would be it worked out in teams, and you would have teams try to take from you, the teacher, giving instruction and information about the definition of the term, and the student teams working together to come up with the correct answer. If a team gets a correct answer, one member of their team can come up and you hand them a rolled up piece of paper, and they shoot it like a basketball into a hat, a box, a trash can, whatever is available in your classroom that they can shoot at. And of course, this time of year, why not? Everybody's engaged with March Madness, so why not take a fun game like this to incorporate into your lessons? We offer external resources in every lesson. We've gone out and tried to curate videos and articles and charts and graphs and infographics, etc., so that you can add and extend what we're going to be using as part of your lessons with the activities that we suggest. For instance, in this lesson, we found an article that's kind of interesting about reading of the success of different mobile businesses. And we've also included links in the external resources section for you to very easily click up and show or pass out the link to your students so they can view a short video about a particular type of business. There's that drag and drop game we mentioned, and a fun way to even review could be having your students create a foldable of the different types of businesses that they've just studied. The assessment option, here you could have them and task them with creating a brochure or a poster, digital or good old paper and pencil and colored crayons and colored pencils, to come up and think about a kind of business that they would like to start in the future. And as they have already learned about the different types of businesses, sole proprietorships, we give some different ideas that they could maybe think about, where that could jog their memory and their own ideas about what type of business they could do. Here's partnership ideas. What kind of firm could you open with a partner? Franchise ideas, corporation ideas. So this is a worksheet that kind of gets them thinking and guides them through the process, and then they would create a final product that you could display in a gallery walk, and the students could promote their own business idea that way. The next lesson that we're going to reveal to you tonight is one called Principles of Business and Personal Ethics. Again, this is a lesson for a business education teacher that they could use, but also you could use this with the teaching of business law, personal finance, economics, so many different choices. So let's take a look at this lesson. Once again, here is the cover page for this lesson. Why is this topic important? talking about one's own moral code, maintaining integrity, trustworthiness, etc. Teachers, some of the things and strategies that you could use to help with this, deliver this lesson to students might be having them create a word wall of new vocabulary terms and have that placed up in your classroom. You could have the students tasked with visiting a corporate website on the web if they have access to devices, and search for that company's code of ethics and discuss the findings either in small groups or with a larger group. And steps for making personal and business decisions. I'll show you a flow chart that we created here in a minute to help students see how this is a step-by-step process and what they need to think about if they're making ethical decisions for their workplace or for personal reasons. What can students do? They might be making their own personal ethics statement. You could ask them to play an online matching game to reinforce learning. Design a vision board of their own personal ethics statement. As we wrote this lesson, we realized that these are some soft skills that we can help build in our future citizens. And we can incorporate current events, and we can get them to reflect on their own value sets, etc., as they become aware of business and personal ethics. Once again, that word wall is a fun way to have something that the students can create and put up in your classroom. We have some different ethical dilemmas and how the students would react to solving those dilemmas. We have included short videos in our external resources and articles for them to read if you want to use that strategy for expanding their awareness of business ethics. We have created, using a web tool called wordwall.net, for them to play a matching game. Why don't I take you there now and let you take a look at this? Hopefully you can see my screen that it's taken me to the external resource link that we included in this lesson. And this is a great way to introduce or reinforce vocabulary. So there are, I think, 8 or 12 vocabulary terms in the Principles of Business and Personal Ethics lesson. So I'm going to take, you can see over here on the right, there are several different ways that you can have students play this game. So let's just do the first one, find the match, and I'm going to click start. You, the teacher, could use, have this game played with whole class instruction using a display board and having that displayed to the students. It even has music. So you can see, here are the definitions at the bottom. The students have a timer going on up here. Here's the word trust. And let's see, doing what you believe is morally right, even when pressured to do otherwise. I'm not sure if that is the definition of trust, but why don't we try that and see? Okay, the game is telling me, no, that one's wrong. Okay, your reputation is that actions guided by a set of principles? Is it accurately representing facts and communications? Is it doing what you believe is morally right? No. Integrity. Doing what you believe is morally right? Let's check. Ah, yes, there we have one correct, and we're keeping score up here. Transparency. Is this accurately representing facts and communicating? Yes, it is. So you can see that this is ongoing, and it continues to play. We'll play up. So it's stopped. And you can ask, if you're doing this with many students together, you could see a leaderboard. You can ask individually, or you as the teacher showing it, which terms are correct. The first one I chose is trust. This is the correct answer. This is the one I chose. This one I got right. So this is a fun game that we have pre-made for you to use in the classroom, and we include the link. Let me show you how it works out in a game show. You could push this out as a link to students if they have their own devices and they could play on their own, or you could play together as a class. So here we have the quiz, the game show. Using the same terms, here we have the word ethics. Is it a set of standards of conduct? Is it standards of behavior guiding managers? Estimation in which a person is held based on their behavior, or a set of written standards which include rules? Let's try this one. Let's see what happens. Okay. And you can sense that, with the drum roll and everything, that there is a sense of a fun game show here. And it looks like we earned 100 points and we got 9 bonus because we did it before the time was up. Here's trust. Is that confidence in the integrity of a person? Code of ethical guidelines? A set of standards? An action guided by a set of principles? Let's try this and see what happens. Oh, yes, we got another one. Show me my upgraded score and some bonus. So you can see that this carries out and it's fun. You could have this, students playing this if you wanted extra time. Just go ahead and choose that, see if it's correct. That one's wrong. I don't believe we lose any points. It tells us the correct answer. And then we have a bonus round. And we can pick, well, we're going to go for 200 points. Now watch where this question mark goes. There it is. There it is. Oh, I've lost it. Oh, my. So, I'll go with this one. Well, at least I get 50 points. Not the 200, but I do get an extra 50. So that's a way that we have pre-made for this particular lesson, and you can play that directly from the link that we provide you in our game, in our lesson plan. I mentioned about having the students write their own personal code of ethics, and for business and personal life, these are the steps and the thought considerations you should go through, doing a gut check one last time before you make a decision that is an ethical decision and perhaps something very difficult. Now, in our research for this lesson, personal ethics are sometimes asked for in a statement or an explanation for college applications. Sometimes, depending on the world of work where the student may eventually be employed, they might be asked to write something like this once a year and during their annual review. So this is a very practical lesson that helps students get into the game of understanding the role of ethics in the workplace and in their own lives. All right, I'm going to turn it over now to Robin, and she's going to talk you through business and personal ethics. Robin, do you want me to stop sharing, or do you want me to continue and I can just advance?
You can just advance. I think we can just do that.
All right.
And if it gets too crazy, then I'll take over. So I have been an entrepreneurship teacher for many, many years, and I love the buzz that has been created around social entrepreneurship. I feel like it's really part of this younger generation that believes that we should help each other, that we shouldn't just be out to make as much money as we can, but we should think about the people who are around them. And so I'm grateful that we put in this lesson, and hopefully you will see that there are some fun ways to help students understand the social component that goes with being an entrepreneur. Next slide. Okay. You can see when I was creating this slide, I really felt like this lesson fits in with one of our Take Charge Today themes, which is we are better off in a community. We really do want to help students understand that they need to learn how to not be selfish, which a lot of teenagers are, but to understand that they're part of a class, they're part of a family, they're part of a school, they're part of teams and other organizations, and that when they learn to work with others, that really helps advance not only themselves as individuals, but that community or group that they are part of. You can see on the right-hand side with the cover page for this lesson that we really want students to understand vocabulary. I know some kids just moan when you talk about that. And so this is a fun lesson to use our active learning tool that's called the Crystal Ball. And it's basically giving the kids vocabulary terms and then letting them try to use their language skills, their English skills, and figure out if they look at the prefix, the suffix, what kind of a word does this look like? What does it connect to that maybe they've heard of or they think they're similar? So it gives them a chance to share their prior knowledge with you, to give you some experience into their background that will help you see what they're doing. And then as you go through the lesson, then they can fill in what does the word actually mean and see if they were right on or if this was something new that they learned from there. There are some wonderful social entrepreneurs that have created YouTube videos. And so we have some videos that are tied in. TED Talks are something that teachers often use in their classrooms to have the students listen to and do a reflection or have some discussions that go after that. So we have some good links in this lesson that will help you with that. We, in the topic of, how are we better off as a community, we have an activity where the students get to think about what rights do they have as a person versus what rights do they have with a group. I know that I've been following a lot of frustrated teachers on social media lately who are just, tired of students right now, tired of attitudes of the kids don't want to work. They're done with school for the year. Why are you making me do this? Teachers are trying to give students that opportunity to make up points that they missed and go back and fix assignments and things like that. So this is kind of a lesson where you can bring in some of those ideas and help them understand how we can work together as a class to help each other, how we can help people move forward, how we can help people that maybe don't understand things as well as we do. And that we really are better off when we use our talents and our skills and our kindness to be able to help others. And then we can challenge them in this lesson to identify their social responsibilities. I would bet all you teachers who are out there have maybe said what I used to say in my classroom when kids would say, "Can we eat in here?" or "Can we drink in your class?" And I would say, "That's fine, but I'm not your mom. So your trash better end up in the trash can." And so this is a lesson that can tie in some of those experiences that you have as a teacher and help students to understand that a little bit better. All right, Lisa, next. Mm-hmm. One of the videos that I found really helpful in this lesson that we've included as kind of a hook is what makes Generation Z different. So what makes these students who are in our classrooms right now different than the students that we taught 5 or 10 years ago? Because they really are different. They're different in the way they look at themselves, look at other people, look at expectations and responsibilities. And so this is just kind of a short video that can help you make those comparisons. So if you've been a teacher for a long time, that's a good thing to just kind of help you understand what's making this group different that you have in front of you in class than the class that you maybe had a few years ago. The extended learning, we talked about TED videos. There's a cute one on how do I become a social entrepreneur? What does that mean? Often our students are confused and they think if I'm a social entrepreneur, then I'm giving away all my money and I'm never going to be as successful as I want to be. But it really helps them understand how can I be successful as an entrepreneur and a business owner and still be able to help others. So to help them start thinking on making those steps as they move forward. I know that when I teach students about budgeting or creating a spending plan, I always have giving to others as an option. And my students just are so concerned about their own money. They want to keep their own money and they don't want to think about giving to other people. So I usually would just start with a question on, well, do you ever get presents for Christmas? Do you give presents for Christmas? Why do you do that? Right? Does that make your family happier when everybody gets to give presents? Or do you expect mom and dad to give you gifts for the rest of your life and you don't have to think about them? So that's kind of the approach that this lesson is taking is, let's take some baby steps forward in helping you understand that it really is good to be able to do things to help others who are around you. Most of our students are familiar with the brand Tom's. And we have a fun video connected to this lesson that shows Blake Mykoski when he was relatively new in the Tom's space. So the video talks about why did he name the company Tom's and how did he come up with his vision of buy one, give one, because he was really the first social entrepreneur out there that followed that kind of a model. And how could he afford to do that? How can you afford to give away 50% of your product that is being made? So it's fun. He's an engaging, even though he's older, the kids still like him and understanding from him why he did what he did. And then we have some fun activities that they could do at the end to create a comic strip or again, to do a foldable that would just reinforce some of those no vocabulary words that they maybe are not familiar with. All right, next, Lisa. As an assessment option, you could have the students create a presentation and it could be in a PowerPoint. I just found some information about Blake that I put together. So they could do this, they could do a poster, lots of different ways to just share information about somebody that they researched. About an hour ago, I just Googled like social entrepreneurs in the United States and got the first article had about 35 different people who were on there and companies, people and companies. So I wanted to see if any of you have a favorite company that you follow that does any social entrepreneur things with it. So anything they do to give back to the company. And you can either unmute or you can type in the chat for us a company that you're familiar with that you are glad that they reach out and help others with. Good. Stacy, I'm glad you picked a local company because I think that is always worthwhile for our students to understand. So I think Ben & Jerry's is probably a company that a lot of the students would be familiar with and maybe familiar with their model of giving back to others. IKEA aligns with UNICEF, so they want to help children around the world. If you shop at Kohl's, if they have a Kohl's store in your state where you live, when you go into Kohl's, they have children's books and associated plushie. So about every 2 or 3 months, they'll have a new book and a new plushie, and those are chosen to be able to help an organization. So I love that. And if you have local companies like that, and especially if those are employers of him or your students, they might be able to share information on that. I have locally here in Phoenix, Arizona, we have a company that I fell in love with a few years ago when I was trying to find a company that my DECA students could work with for a DECA competition. And his company is called Cloud Covered Streets, and he created a shower and laundry trailer that goes into different areas of the city 3 days a week. And all the homeless people that come get their clothes washed, they get a free haircut, they get food, they get to take a shower. Every time they come, they get a new t-shirt, new pair of underwear, new pair of shorts, new pair of socks. They usually have a hygiene kit that they will give them. And then they try to associate with some of the other organizations in town who serve those people. Before he got started in that, he started a company that was called Paper Clouds Apparel. And what he did is have people with special needs design t-shirts, and then he would print those t-shirts and people could buy them. And 50% of his profits go to specific organizations that support people with special needs. A couple of years ago, or a couple of weeks ago, he was heartbroken that he was going to have to shut down that t-shirt company because he had been losing money for a couple of years. He was just kind of funding it himself. And he was so sad because that was his baby that he first got started with. But just yesterday, he posted that one of the people he's connected with, he was part of a band, not a big national band yet, but a big band that travels, had decided to step in and take over the company. So I think if you can find stories like that within your own community, that will help the students to make a connection and understand that there are so many businesses and so many individuals out there that are doing things that help others. And that's what we want. We want students to catch the vision of you can be successful and help others as well. Okay, next, Lisa. Okay, and then we know it's super important to help our students understand leadership and management in a company. If they're going to run their own business or be involved in a company at a management level even, they need to understand what are the tasks and responsibilities that they would have. And for our students, a lot of them, a leader and a manager might seem like the same person to them because they may work for a small business where the owner is the manager. Or maybe they have a relative who's like that. But this lesson helps them kind of distinguish between what is a leader and what kind of leadership characteristics do you have, or what is a manager and what kind of characteristics would those people have. So the first thing we do is help them to understand the difference between those two. We definitely talk about leadership styles, which is something as a business teacher I taught all of the time. And we look at different management levels in the company. So a lower level manager, a mid-level, and upper manager, because we want them to understand that. One of our fun activities that we created just to begin, you see on the title page for the lesson, is called Who's Leading the Team? Most students have been part of a sports team, a cheerleading team, a speech and debate team, maybe even just part of choir or orchestra or dance at school where they've had to work together. And so we created an activity where they can kind of look at, okay, during a football game, what is the football coach doing? What is the football manager doing? And having some of those discussions with other students in a group to identify what do they see those people doing, how are they leading, how are they communicating. So using, again, some of their prior experiences to be able to help them understand what's the difference between a leader and a manager as they move forward with that. Go ahead, Lisa, to the next slide. We have several online vocabulary games. So Lisa shared one with you. We know kids sometimes don't like to have just, take the time to look at a word and a definition. So we believe that having these games fits in with this Generation Z and their digital need for excitement and competition. So we have some of those in there. We also have an activity where you can put kids in groups, or you could divide the class in half and have them build concept maps regarding the team or regarding the term of manager versus a leader, and then have them compare that. So you can have a good class discussion that goes along with that. We know because of some of the things that happened during the NFL football season that a lot of people have learned about the medical teams that are there at NFL games. So there's a good CNN video that talks about how the medical team at the NFL game can stop the game. They can say, we're just putting this on pause and we're going to go take care of the situation. So if you play that video, you can have that discussion about why is it important sometimes for the manager to step in and pause what's happening. So you can really tie it into some of the other business topics and business learning that the students have had. There's an activity where students can actually figure out what kind of a leader are they. And then for our conclusion activities, we have the opportunity to kind of either do a really quick leadership activity or a short one. So you can see that we have a biographical report. So if you have time for students to do something more in depth, do some reports on a leader, make a presentation, share it with the class. I got into having my students kind of do a speed dating type style of share out. And so instead of having 3 or 4 days with students presenting, we would put the kids in 2 different groups. And so one group would present and the kids would just rotate around and then they would kind of switch. And so it was faster and easier for them to do that. And you could even do that with something that's not a presentation. This business leader profile card that we created, which is in Google. So you can send it out digitally to the students, and it already has a placeholder for a picture and the name of the leader and some key information that you would want to share. So that could be something that students can do in one class period, take them out in the hallway, and again, just have them rotate and talk to each other and see what they can learn about the different leaders. Next, Lisa. When I was working with the teacher that wrote this lesson, we wanted to have something that is applicable for students. A lot of times when we talk about managers and leaders, it's above their head. It's going to be a long time before maybe they have that type of a position for themselves. But we made an assessment option that's tied to a restaurant and the different levels of employees within a restaurant, and having the students identify, what does this person need? So is this person like brand new with the restaurant? Have they had a previous position with the restaurant? Now they're just getting promoted. What are they doing, and what management style should the manager use with them? So they've learned in the lesson about the different management styles, and they can just kind of match those up and see what they've learned about what's needed for that employee to reach their potential, and how can the manager assist them. Okay, Lisa, next. And then our last one that we have is new, is understanding consumers' decisions and markets. We know that as an entrepreneur, it's super important to understand who's going to be your target market, what market are you operating in, and what kind of decisions do you have to make as you move forward with that. So we start out with, why are consumers important? Why do you need these consumers to understand them and what's important? They get a chance to think about markets, think about the video game market and the tennis shoe market and the sunglasses market. So helping them understand some of those basics that they would really need to understand before they started their own businesses. And then getting a chance to think about brands and how do brands influence us as consumers. And if I am an entrepreneur and I'm starting my own business, how do I need to think about influencing my consumers for good as well? We have a little bit about a business plan and just kind of the 7 basic areas of a business plan. You can do a lean canvas model with this as well, but just gives you a chance to say to students, when you're starting your own business, these are the different topics that you need to be able to speak about when you're talking to others. And then, of course, we want them to understand, how do they become successful? What are things that make entrepreneurs successful in what it is that they are doing? Go ahead, Lisa. So again, we have a hook for vocabulary that is taking a vocabulary term and letting students draw a picture so that we can tap into those kids that are more visual, let them draw something that goes with it. We have a link to an activity that's called Be Your Own Boss that is created by the Mint. So you can do this as the hook activity. We also have an option for you to do that at the end if you want to do that. And then we've added into this lesson an activity that we call Companies That We Love, which is a new card activity, and I'll tell you about that in just a minute. Investopedia has some good, solid business articles, and one of them lists many characteristics that entrepreneurs have when they are successful. So I was going to have you do this, but I think because we want to get to the end and let you go on time, we'll skip it. But I just made a Google form with the characteristics, and I usually just push it out to my students and have them mark which of these skills are you really confident in with yourself right now. So the students are having to identify, what are the skills I know I have and what do I need to work on as we move forward. And then we also have a tie into an entrepreneur infographic from the Atlanta Fed. So something that you can order for free and have in your classroom. They will send you a classroom set of a lot of infographics, or you could just order multiple versions of this one that you could have students work on individually if you wanted to. Go ahead, Lisa. So here's what that activity from the Mint looks like. And then you can also have students think about the type of business that they might want to open, and then add details in about who's my consumers going to be, how would I describe them, and what market am I going to be in, and what are some of those key decisions that I need to make as a small business owner to be able to make sure I'm satisfying what it is my consumers want and need. Okay, next, Lisa. So if you haven't checked out our website lately, we have added in some card games. I am a big hands-on teacher, and I love having students do things where they're interacting with each other. And so this was kind of one of my babies in my head for years that I thought we needed to do this. So we call this card game Companies That We Love, and you can see a picture on there. So it fits in with our entrepreneurship lesson, that's up at the top. And then we've given you the name of a company, a short description of what they do, and that came from their own company's descriptions, their logo, and a picture of their product that's on there. So we have this activity that you could do many different ways. I think we've given you many options if you want to play it, to put kids in small groups and give them a certain number of cards and have them sort them from smallest to largest. Have them sort them in terms of companies that they buy and companies they don't buy. So we tried to give you lots of activities. We're going to give away one of these decks of cards today to one of you. We'll send it to you in the mail. But a fun activity to do just to get kids out of their seats and moving. We tie it into one of our other lessons where they can develop a new logo for the company, because some of these logos need to be updated a little bit. So you could tie it into marketing if you were teaching that, or graphic design if you were teaching that. Just a fun way to have the kids get up out of their seats and interact with each other and do things that are stretching their brains a little bit farther. We have two other decks of cards that you saw in there as well. Sorry, Lisa.
There we go.
That's okay. A match them up that goes with employee benefits. So we don't necessarily have a lesson, but that goes with that. But that activity ties into some of our lessons that we've done previously that have to do with getting paid and some of the benefits that you would have as an employee. So that's fun. And then we've taken a lot of our questions that are part of the assessment at the end of each lesson and created a card deck that's called Questions About Money. And again, in that activity description in our active learning tools, you'll see different ways that you can use those cards to help the students prepare for a test or just do a fun review when you have time to do that. Okay, Lisa. Turn it back to you.
Okay. So as we wrap up here this evening, one of the last things, we would love to know if you have a particular entrepreneurship topic that you'd like to see us write a lesson about. If you'd like, we'll put in the chat this link to a Padlet where you can anonymously type in some topics that you'd like to see, as many as you would feel free to do. But we like to have feedback from our teachers on the front lines. And sure, just click on there and let me see if I can go. Yes, here it is, entrepreneurship lesson ideas. If you have some type of topic that you as a teacher of business and entrepreneurship would like to see a lesson made about, we'd love to hear from you. And there's no time limit on this. You can come back later if you'd like to add something to this particular lesson or Padlet. And we appreciate any information that you can give us. I'm going to go one more step back. Thank you very much. Here's one on financial statements. This is great. laws entrepreneurs should follow. All this is awesome. Business plans. Very cool. I enjoy watching those Shark Tank shows myself if I have to reveal my TV watching habits. Thank you so much for sharing your ideas with us. We really appreciate that. And now just going back as we wrap up, we have a t-shirt for one person on tonight's live webinar, and we'll also be sending an activity card deck that's been pre-made. We want you to know that these designs for the companies that you see in this picture, they are available in the lesson itself, and you could print those off on a full page of labels, cut those out and put them directly on a side of a card, and have your own decks ready to go for whenever you want to carry out this active learning tool with students. So thank you all for joining us, and we wish you the very best as your spring semester continues to play out. Thanks for joining us. We will have an archived version of this webinar put up on our website probably at the end of this week or early next week. Thanks, everybody.